What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future-free state of Greater Idaho. I am the one-armed madman, and back with me today to talk some drone madness, we've got Ronnie Mills. Ronnie, it's a pleasure to see you again. How we doing?
Hey, how are you?
Doing all right, getting by, getting by. We've got some a situation going on here on the East Coast,
Right.
and I wanted to bring on somebody that had some actual knowledge in this type of stuff, and not just telling me about drones. Like, we got to see if we can connect this to anything weird, or what do you think's going on here?
Okay, first of all, I tell you, I'm not an expert, but I think, and by now, I definitely think, and this is my opinion, the government definitely knows what's there and what's going on. And so I have some theories because what I do know about drones, and when I wrote down a little stuff about it, and what I do know is that drones had to be registered as a, and these are big ones from what I hear, the size of a car.
Yeah.
Okay. They had to be flown below 400 feet. Uh, drones that don't have to be registered are the ones that are what 250 grams, was just about 1 pound.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
So,
Yeah.
and these are not definitely not those. So they must be registered. You have to be 16 years or older. And there are remote IDs or drones, the devices to tell you the registration information. So all you had to do is point it at them, and if there's some delivering a pizza somewhere or something like that,
Yeah.
they had to be registered. So if the government's saying they don't know what they are, they're not registered drones. But I think they know what they are because you don't let anything just fly over any
Yeah.
airspace it
No,
wants.
absolutely.
And a military base too,
Yep.
you
And
know.
not just military bases in America, but also in England. In the past couple months, they've been popping up too, which is very strange, right? Another
Hmm.
thing I've learned recently about drones is that I don't know if you've ever messed around with like a little one or something like that. My neighbor has one, so we were screwing around with it on 4th of July just this a couple months ago. Just seeing, we're putting it up in the air and just looking around the valley to see all the fireworks going off. Those things will only go a certain range,
Hmm.
and the range is not limited by the radio waves that control the drone. The range is limited by a law that says that in order to operate a drone outside of eye view, so if you want to take it beyond where you can see, you have to have a pilot's license, which I thought
Hmm.
was very
Right.
strange. And it seems like this could be a coordinated move to bar people from like us from owning drones. I could see that being a deal. I know that they've got a hard on for China about everything, and their big thing right now is, oh, they're spying on you through TikTok, as if our government's not spying on all of the fact that they care about privacy is
Hmm.
ridiculous. And I could see there being the same type of thing. Like, we gotta get a monopoly on these things. We can't have normal people flying them around because that's just going to be a nightmare. And we don't want them seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing. But there could also be something weird going on. So, like, I was watching Joe Rogan earlier this week, and he had on, geez, I forgot his name, Ryan Graves. Ryan Graves was one of the fighter pilots from like the Go Fast video or the Tic
Hmm.
Tac. He was one of those guys who spotted that. And he said something very interesting. He said that this is the third year that these things have been buzzing this time of the year, and that they've been increasing in numbers each year, and that the government was expecting them, which is very strange.
Hmm. One one of my thoughts is a down to earth thought because we know drones could carry weapons.
Hmm.
We've seen that with the fighting um, with Russia and Ukraine. We know they could carry weapons, and so also, what if the drones were used for crowd control?
Yeah.
I mean, without getting officers, into the thick of things, dropping tear gas, you know, using weapons. against crowds, crowd control. It'd be the easy way before you got people in there on the ground as you control the crowd or disperse them with drones. Because you can easily take them out the air. The radio controlled ones, just point something at them, you can take them out of the air. They have things to do that.
Yeah, jammers.
But they, yes, but they've already said mainly that, hey, we can't do that because they're so big, they're the size of a car. They might just drop down and stuff. But we know the government don't allow you to fly over certain areas anyway, you know, and these drones don't have a flight path. So I'm thinking they know what they are, and I
Yeah,
thought it would be great for crowd control,
yeah, yeah.
and maybe
Another
they're looking at the future
another
in crowd.
interesting thing he said about the drones is that they don't have a heat signature, which I have not been able to verify myself. Like I have a heat camera on my iPhone, so if I was seeing
Mhm.
one of these things, I would immediately go to my IR and see if it picks up. But
Mhm.
like most people aren't smart enough to like figure something like that out, and they're also kind of maybe freaking out, so you're not really thinking clearly. You just want to get the thing onto the camera, look, here it is. But like I could see something like, you know, I don't know I don't know who on this planet has the ability to make a quadcopter drone with zero IR. That's strange to me. Like, if anybody can do it, it's our government, and I would imagine that very few others could pull something like that off. I don't even know how our government would pull something like that off. Like, some of these things you're seeing these like membranes and like kind of orbs going on. Like, I don't know, maybe they do have some sort of force field or orb that they can extend around these things and actually, keep them kind of secret.
I think they're running their own tests. They know what they are. They don't seem to be urgent about it. They don't seem to really kind of care about it. And they say, we don't know what's really going on. We're looking into it. And we said, remember, for 58 years, they said that Area 51 didn't exist.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and we saw it sitting there, and
Yep.
they kept saying it didn't exist.
You know
And
what?
until in 2013, there's a CIA document that said it did. So, the Freedom of Information Act. So, but they kept saying, you can see it right there. It's right there. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist. But that's how they play it. Um, my other theory is, are they getting us ready and normalizing us seeing things in the sky?
Mhm.
A
I
lot
think
of things
so.
at once.
I think so for sure.
A lot of things at once. Maybe preparing us so we look up and we might see something and think it's a drone. Because maybe they see something coming this way. And not a one thing, maybe a lot of them. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like if I was the captain of an interstellar spaceship and I was on my way to a planet. Maybe we took off, headed to this planet thousands of years ago, and we're just, freezing ourselves and waking up time and time to check it out. And maybe you wake up one of those times and you go, "Oh no, the beautiful planet that we were on our way to colonize has people on it now. That's not good. Like, what are these people up to? How can we spy on them?" And that could be an easy way to do it. Send out a scout craft with a bunch of drones that look like drones that we would produce, and
mhm.
kind of just throw them out there. The fact that they're dedicated to one local area makes that theory sound a bit fishy. Like if you were going to be doing that, like if I'm the captain, right? I'm going to look at the entire world. I'm not just going to look at the East Coast. Like I guess
Mhm.
the East Coast of the United States is kind of the center of the world in a way because that's where all the decisions are going down, but not in New Jersey in DC. So like I don't know. There's some easily weird stuff that could be going on. You jogged my memory about a video I saw the other day. It was some I don't know who the guy was making the video, but he said, I've got a buddy who works at Groom Lake, and I've been asking for years what's going on out there. And he recently told me that he can't tell me anything until 2025. And this was like a 5-year-old video. So what's going on in 2025, right?
Maybe we and right now we can see far off into the galaxy,
Hmm.
and maybe there are polluted ships heading this way, and we say, okay, maybe we could meet with them government wise ourselves or secret government
Hmm.
because they haven't even let presidents, from my understanding, in on it a long, long time. And probably since Kennedy, they said, we're not going to do that anymore. Kennedy and Johnson, we're not going to do that anymore. Let presidents in on us meeting with other people from other planets. We're just going to keep that amongst ourselves and stuff. We saw that on Independence Day
Yeah.
when the Judd Hirsch guy was like, yeah, you got the spaceship from us. It's like, no, no. And the president himself was like, that never happened.
Yeah.
And the guy said, that's not exactly true. At that
Yeah.
time,
That was a great scene. That was a great
right?
movie.
That's
I
not
love that
exactly
movie.
true.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
why would you keep it from him?
Why would you tell him?
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, why
So
would you tell
it's
him? He's a short-term employee. This is for the permanent Washington and the permanent Lockheed Martin employees. This isn't for somebody like Trump who could just spout his mouth off 4 years after he gets out of the office.
I saw this thing, this video with Will Smith, and he had met with Obama, and he was joking. He was like, about his son getting in trouble. His son said, "I'm going to ask him, Dad." And he said, "No, you better not. I'm not going to ask him. They're Obama. I'm going to ask him." He said, "You better not." And tell him what to say. And Obama heard him and said, "I know what you're going to ask." He said, "I can neither confirm or deny." Aliens.
Yeah.
And he said that's what he had, can confirm or deny it. But a book I read a long time ago, and I did have a show, it's called Project Mindshift by Michael Mann. And it says the re-educate is you can look it up, it's still on sale. Of course on Amazon. The re-education of the American public concerning extraterrestrial life. And he said in the book, when you read the book and stuff, you'll get a lot of stuff. They find an easy way to palette things through movies and stuff like that. And he said, think about it. He said, frequent visitors, and he put in a book to the White House to talk and stuff and get awards and stuff with Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, you know. And he said, in a time, suppose you're at a dinner or something like that, and somebody comes up and say, that movie you're making, what would make it even more real is you do this,
Yeah.
do this, you do this, you do this. And they said, didn't know where it's from, but they're giving an idea. And it'd make it more realistic if you did this,
Yeah.
you did this. And Mindship has things, series, everything and stuff. They're paleting you for what might be coming. And if you look at it, the boom came after the Roswell incident with alien stuff. It was a big boom, series and stuff like that. The day the Earth stood still, it came after that.
Yeah.
And it said it's one of the easiest ways to get you ready for stuff. And I realized, I said, for me, an example is I realized when I was a kid, and I think it's seventh grade, I'm like, the teacher is very excited telling us we have a computer. I said, computer, wow. You know, one of the giant ones that we have a computer here and stuff. And I was like, they're saying everybody will get a chance to work on it and stuff. And they said, and we'll learn more about it and stuff. And I was like, you know, computer, give me information, talking to it. And he said, no, 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 you can't talk to the computer. Computer doesn't know your language. It speaks logos. And we'll teach you its language so you can speak to us. And I was like,
That's
that
stupid.
really sucks
Yeah.
because on Star Trek, the computers talk.
Yeah.
You say computer, you ask a question and it answers. I was already shifted that computers talk, you know,
Yep.
watching that. And
Yep.
he's like, and guess what? This computer, every time I'm asking questions, it talks now.
Yeah, it gets great answers too.
Yes, it talks now.
You
It
know,
gives directions. It talks. Ask it something. And upcoming, what I hear and found out now is a generation that hasn't been without a smartphone. Because I was getting a phone for my sister, just a regular flip phone, because she's having trouble with smartphones. So I'm just getting, I'm getting one for my sister, and I'm talking. And it's like, at the carrier I had. Well, I'm thinking about a regular flip phone, something it was she could just talk, and and she could text. That's about it. Take a few pictures, but not really smart. And she's looking, yeah, we have a phone like that. And she said, it's $800. And I said, that's not a smart, that's a smartphone. What I'm talking about is a flip phone.
yeah,
I realized she lived in a world where phones were never not smart. I
yeah,
said, you remember those flip phones we first got? We thought they were great, but you couldn't
yeah.
go on the internet with them. They didn't really talk. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it was
Yeah,
clear she did. I said, it wouldn't cost that much. And then I talked to somebody who said, yeah, we got one that cost $79. This is what I'm looking for.
yeah,
Is it text and talk?
yeah.
I said,
So
that's what I'm looking for, and it's a flip phone.
yeah, somewhere in like 99, 2000, somewhere around there, Christmas time, I got the first iPod for Christmas. And,
Mm-hmm.
it had the analog screen on it, and you had to, whip your finger around the little dial to do anything on it. It was a really incredible piece of technology for the time. And I remember like I had all these ideas. Okay, and my sister was going to help me hook it up to the computer because I didn't know how to use a computer. And it was like, all right, I want to separate everything by genre and then album. And then, you know what I mean? Like, I want this thing so I can go through it and know where everything is. And then we
Mm-hmm.
plugged it into the computer and it did all of that for me. I didn't have to tell it to do anything. It already knew the best way to set everything up. And I
Right.
remember telling my grandfather about it because my grandfather was big into the stock market. And sometimes you can just see things that other people can't. Like knowing that Star Trek, the computers talk, like that's how it should be. It's kind of stupid to make a computer talk a different language than the person
Right.
who's using it. That's a dumb way to look at it, right? And at
Mm-hmm.
this point, I already knew. After messing with this thing for 20 minutes, I was like, this thing's going to be a phone, a computer, and a TV in the next 10 years. And my grandpa's, no way, you're shitting me. I'm like, it's going to do it. And I just knew. There was no, like, I don't know how I knew that. Like, the iPhone hadn't even been announced at that point. You could just see it coming. And it's, from being into sci-fi or science or whatever, you could just see the dang thing coming. And that was a really cool moment of like technological, advancement where you could just really talk to these things and communicate with these things. Like I didn't know how to use a computer,
Mm-hmm.
but as soon as I plugged that thing into the computer, I could use that thing really well.
And in his book, he's talking about we prepare people for things, the shift, the new things that are coming. And he said a lot of easy ways to do it is books and movies. A lot easier way to do it is books and movies. And I hadn't realized that. I said how much I saw the future. And Star Trek is one of the best examples. They had flat screen
Yep.
TVs. They talked to the computers talked. Um, they had the flip phone before it was there. They communicated,
Yeah.
and they asked people in industry, "What do you think is coming up? What do you think? What are you looking at? What is going to happen next?" And the mind shift. And he said, "Think about using that mind shift for things that you know is going to come. You know there's alien life out there, and one day it's going to show up unannounced. It's going to show up, and that happened in what 47 in Roswell,
Yeah.
and they didn't know how. They actually they did not know how to handle that whole thing because immediately the next day, Associated Press, we've captured a disc,
Yeah.
and they said we've captured a disc, and they said, wait a minute, we're not ready to tell them that. We're not, we're not ready to tell them that.
Yeah.
And then the captain had to say, no, it's not. It was a balloon. I've been a captain in the Air Force, and I don't know what the hell a balloon, a weather balloon looks like in a disc. And so it's preparations because they know one sooner or later we're going to find out. We're going to find out. And somebody's going to come unannounced. We're already started finding out. When they did Project Blue Book, the thing is, they knew about it a long time ago because you would hear stories about somebody, Jim in the holler, talking about he saw a flying saucer and they talked to him and everything and stuff. And they would tell us to call Jim crazy. But all of a sudden, men in black would show up to ask questions. What did you see? What did they say to you? What is it? Government officials that you've never heard of,
Yeah.
would show up to ask you questions about things they told you weren't true, you know.
Yeah.
And my understanding from Roswell, a lot of people were told not to say anything, not to say anything. You didn't see anything. And they realized then, they said, we got to deal with first responders. Because when they went out there, they didn't think it was they thought an aircraft was hit by lightning and
Yeah.
crashed. They had no idea. And we got to deal with first responders, the police, and which they had to deal with them after the fact. But we have to deal with the police. We got to deal with the fire department. We got to deal with government officials because they're going to be on the site before us, before we can get everybody out and secure and do what we want. And that was after the fact. And they said, we have to write a new script for that. How do we handle them?
Yeah.
Because they will be there first. And that's what they learned from that. And that's what Michael Mann said in his book. He said, it's coming, but we have to feed it slower. And maybe they're getting us used to seeing lights because they tell us what's going on. Oh, there's some activity around Mars, Jupiter. Maybe they see a fleet of something coming.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, it's just get them used to looking at lights in the sky.
Yeah.
And so we'll look up and hopefully they'll think it's drones.
Yeah. I've actually got a quick NBC report that I recorded yesterday to play for it because I think it's only like a minute. So this would be a great little thing. And we'll go off.
Aliens exist and President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief. In an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are. NBC News chief global correspondent Bill Neely explains this one.
Hi, Alison. Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years, not immigrants, but extraterrestrials. He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is. Well, the good news is that he claims an agreement has been reached between the US government and the aliens, a contract to do experiments here. There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
So the
aliens
interesting
exist
thing
and
about
President Trump knows about it.
The interesting thing about the Mars talk there was when Trump was on Joe Rogan, Joe asked him about aliens. And it seemed like he didn't know anything. Like I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh man, Joe knows way more about aliens than you. But he said something about Mars. What do you think about that? Like this is on NBC, which is crazy. That would have never played 10 years ago.
Okay, I'm going to give you something. Okay. And he's still around, and I'm going to suggest you get him on your show. Okay. There's a book by Lynn Caston. This book is called The Secret Journey to Planet Serpo, True Interplanetary Travel. And A True Story of Interplanetary Travel is by Lynn Caston. Now, suppose in Roswell, somebody started talking online, you know, in the 90s and saying they have been with an exchange program to another planet.
I know the story.
Right. And suppose they said when they landed in Roswell, now they found broken crash, but they found an alien walking around, still alive. They took him and they said it looked like the classic Greys. They took him, communicated with him, learned to talk with him and stuff. They learned to talk and stuff and said he talked through like again, here's where my ship is going in. They talk in tones and stuff. You know, remember?
Yep. Do 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 do.
Yes. So they talked in tones and everything. They learned to talk with him. And not on top of it and stuff, not only they built from parts a communicator for him to phone home, ET.
Oh wow.
So he did. And they said they were coming to get him. He ended up dying before they came to get him and stuff. You know, they said died in 52. But they say they were coming to retrieve the body. They did. They claim they recorded it. They landed in the desert, Los Alamos. They came to collect the body and everything. So they're talking to them about an exchange program. Can we come to your planet and stuff? And said, you know, and of course we're asking for technology. And it was like, no, I'm not ready for that. But we'll do the exchange program.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll do exchange program and everything. And you know, your people can come. So they told him about this study about this planet in the Zeta Reticuli. It's got two suns there. So at the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the people they chose, then you saw the U.S. Army with all their gear
Yep.
and shit getting on there, and the sunglasses because of the two suns.
Yep.
They said all this shit really happened. It all really happened. They stayed there. The plan was to stay there for 10 years. And they gave names, and the colonel that journaled all this, his name was Colonel McKeever. And he kept a log of everything. And his people were there. I think it was 12 people. And they literally went to this planet. And they said to spend like 13 months jumping through wormholes and stuff like that. And they described the evens, what they ate, living there. And this was because the Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, and 1964 is when they came. So they ended up sending about 13 people with them, military people. And they said one of the things it said when you agree to go, and they trained them for a full year. When you agree to go, you're going to be erased.
Yeah.
Literally, and that's what they call a cheat dip in military.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go.
You're not getting background, you never existed.
Yep, you got to go.
So you're going to be gone, so nobody will be looking for you. You don't exist. Police can't say any family, anybody say you're missing and stuff. You don't exist. There's nobody to look for. So they're going and they talk about incidents that happening and this stuff. And it came up online when a group of people were talking. And people were saying, and then dead people will tell stories. Two people decided to stay, you know, on planet Serpo.
Yeah.
They decided to stay. And they said that one person died on the way there. And it was an incident where, and it did sound like our government. They took tanks, trucks, all this stuff, loaded on. They said the stuff they loaded on there and stuff. They had anti-gravity technology. So it's easy for them to get that stuff on there,
Mhm.
took them and stuff. Not only did it said when they went there, they're in a place in a center and stuff where the Ebens were. People from other planets were stopping there.
Oh, I
The
didn't
people
know
who
that
weren't in the
part.
game was us.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that people that
Eh.
weren't in the game was us. We weren't in the game. And because of course we kept begging them for technology. It's like they knew it.
The fact that
You
they
ain't
let
gonna
us
hurt yourself.
bring tanks
Right.
says that they don't care about us or our technology, right? Yeah,
They
sure.
did not.
Bring your little toys with you. Go ahead.
But what the incident I read about shows how stupid human beings are.
Yeah.
You're jumping through wormholes. They had to give you stuff because you're getting sick.
Hmm.
You're literally jumping through wormholes. They get to the other side of the universe, and like a year and some change. So they said the guy that died disappeared, and they said, "Where's his body? Because we want to give him a burial." And it was like, we we took it apart, looked
Yeah.
at it, dissected it,
Yeah.
and they said we're supposed to bury him. And the colonel and everybody's like, "Let's get our guns and stuff." You're in a machine that's jumping wormholes, and you can get a pistol.
Yeah. No shit. That's hilarious.
That-
I
that's
remember
I
that
said.
part of the story too.
That sound like us.
It does.
That
It
sound like us.
Yes, it does. And
And
those are the stories that give it some credence, right? Because like,
right.
yeah, we would bring our tanks. We would try and go Rambo
Right.
if they stole one of our guys. Like you're right. That is exactly what we do.
And even more, when they told them, they said, "Well, why did you do it?" They said, "The one that you had that we came to get that was dead, our bodies and stuff, you dissected all of them."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, like
you
that's what we're
dissect-
doing.
We did the same thing.
We got to learn
We did
here.
the same thing. And not only they were good at it, they said they spliced things, made a few other things
Uh-huh.
and stuff from him and stuff, or growing other things and stuff. So it's just like, I said, you did it to us. We thought we could do it too.
Yeah. That's
Then we
funny.
had some humanity. Then it's like, oh, you took our man apart and stuff. They
Yeah.
said, well, we'll give you what's left. You can bury him and stuff. So
And they had a really
living
brutal trip there on like between the wormholes, and the planet was not
yes.
very hospitable to us, if I remember correctly. Like
I think
gravity
they
wasn't
went on the
right and it was hot.
right, another northern side, because some people got cancer and stuff
Yep.
from the two suns and stuff.
Yep.
But they went to the northern side, and it was hard to sleep because of the light. But here's the thing: is it started in this? They said a chat room that they had and stuff, and people started, you know, dead man will tell lies. If you, there's no need to hide stuff. If you like, I'm gonna be gone soon. You
Mhm.
can't ruin me. So it's just like, hey, I can start telling a story. Nobody will believe it. You think more or less nobody will believe it. Start telling, and somebody was telling the story on this, and they said, instead of shunning him, they said, "Where'd you get this information? Because somebody told me too."
Yeah.
Then it's like, and I believe it. When I've been on your show before, I said from the time, look at all the things that have come. We went light years, and we're going even faster with technology now.
Hmm.
Since the time that they found what they found in that spaceship, the technology took off like never before. You know,
Yeah.
and it just hasn't stopped. It's jumping leap years and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's just getting more. I said, remember we had, I was telling somebody, remember we had cable? They don't have cable
No, it's so
anymore.
antiquated and
Cut
old.
that.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And
Right.
it's like
I remember
that
cutting
was
that cable a
so
while back.
recent. Like cable was so
Right.
recent. And now you look at it and you're like, yeah, that we can't even operate. Like I couldn't even do my job on that, Like you have to
Right.
have high speed to adapt and everything. Ugh. So
Yeah.
another thing that I've been interested in lately is the like spiritual aspect of these things. Like I'm not convinced that all of this is little green men coming from different planets that we could look at from a telescope. I think we could be looking at something much weirder, or stranger, and older than that as well. I saw a really interesting video, and like it's not worth playing or anything, but this woman in New Jersey is zooming in on what looks to be a drone, and then it turns out to be an orb. And this orb it's freaking weird looking. It looks like it's a cell, or it looks alive. You know what it kind of looks like? What is those balls that they put plasma in and you touch your hand to it and the plasma,
Hmm.
it looked kind of like that, but much more like subdued and clear. And she just starts talking to it. She goes, "Can you hear me? Hey, can you see me?" And then finally she goes, "Jesus loves you." And the thing just lights up and starts going crazy. She goes, "Oh, you know Jesus." And it's like, I don't know if that's a fake video. I don't know. But I do know that there is a lot of history of this stuff that goes really far back, like Ezekiel's wheel and, some of these other paintings where you see just wild things in the sky that nobody can really explain. Where do you fall on that?
You say that Christopher Columbus, in his
Yeah.
log, saw what we would call a flying saucer. And started following him, what we call a flying saucer. Um, I believe there is a lot more going. This is a living planet. There's a lot more going on here. There's doors to dimensions that open, glitches. They call them glitches in the matrix.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
stuff. Time. People have reported stepping back in time
Yep.
and then back and glitches in time and everything,
Yeah.
space. Um, Dave, I was I was in an apartment that literally was haunted. It was literally an old building that had these beautiful floors and everything. They
Mhm.
converted them into efficiencies. They had the marble floors and everything. It had Murphy beds
Oh,
that
cool.
came down out the walls and stuff. And that's when I actually encountered literally, uh, I would say, a ghostly apparition, because I was like, oh, I should watch the Three Stooges, these beds in the wall and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a full one. I said, I'm not going to sleep in that. I said, well, I have to tonight because I'm going to get a futon tomorrow. So, and it was a kitchenette there. He made them pretty nice and stuff. You could see those old like megaphones where he called down to people and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just an old building. And I would hear people walking on the floor. I think I was like on the third floor. Walking, I hear people walking, footsteps, and look out there and nothing. So keep walking in the halls? And like, there's nobody out there. But that first night when I had to sleep on that bed, I said, I'll put the sheet here, cover here and stuff. And I get a futon. I said, this bed. I asked somebody put a newer mattress on it, but it'll do for tonight, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do that. So I go to sleep on that. And then I feel like somebody sitting on the edge of the bed because I'm turned around the other way on this side. And I said, somebody just sat on the bed. And I thought the apartment had been broken into. And from that little vantage, I could see every part of this apartment because there's the bathroom,
Yeah.
there's a little kitchenette, there's closets, but you can see everything from the living room area. And I said, somebody, because I had my back facing the door, I said, they broke in and they're sitting on the edge of the bed. And then I feel them lay down. I said, oh God, I'm going to have to fight this something. But my heart is
God.
beating
Yeah, I can
because I'm ready to
imagine.
fight whoever decided to lay down
Oh,
next to me. And I get up and I turn around. There is nothing there, but there's the impression of something, a weight on the bed. And it lifted up. And I came up and stopped. And literally, I turned on every light there. My heart was beating. I did not go to sleep. The sun came
oh,
up.
I don't blame you.
I did not go to sleep. I
That
had to
would
leave.
freak me out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I believe there's a lot of weird stuff
Yeah.
going on.
I've
And
got a very similar story. It's not a ghost story, but like it's a glitch essentially in the Matrix. Whatever happens, like I can't explain this. So I have memories of living in this big abandoned mansion. Not abandoned, like somebody owned it and they kind of had it sectioned off to where some of the house was livable and then the other part of the house was just kind of mothballed. And like I was not a good person in my younger years. Like I did a lot of drugs, I did a lot of bad things, and I remember living in that house and I remember multiple times going through the abandoned section of the house looking for shit to pawn. And, like take to a pawn shop so I can go buy drugs and shit. I never lived in a house like that. I don't know where these memories came from. I don't know if it's a dream, if it's like a Philip K. Dick thing where the Matrix got rewritten and I can kind of remember an older version of it. I don't know if it's a version of the back rooms where you just kind of fall into a different dimension and you're stuck in a subliminal space, and maybe not even your physical body, but just your mind. Like, I can't explain it at all. And like a glitch is a better word to describe it than anything.
What is it? The one they call, who is the South African leader? And
Oh yeah,
they
yeah.
pinned
Mandela.
the Mandela.
Yeah, that's
And a
it.
lot of people talk about the Mandela effect. And one example with me is remembering, what is the quote? The biblical quote, uh, the lamb will lay down with the lion. I thought I remembered the sheep lays down with the lion. And then I looked up and said, the sheep lays down with the wolves. And I said, that's not right. And then I was like, looked it up, and then other people said they remember it.
Yeah.
The the lamb will lay down with the lion, and not the sheep will lay down with the lion, and they remember. No, they remember lion too. And I said, I saw it on a stained glass window when I was in church one time. I remember, and that's like, and people were saying that's one of the Mandela things. You remember something very different.
Yeah.
That's it, but it's not just you. Whole group of people remember.
Yeah.
But they said something else now. So
Yeah. It's weird,
those
man.
are
It's
glitches
weird
we
to
see.
have something in your mind that you just can't explain. And like, I feel like it was real. Like, but I've went through I've went through every place I've lived. I never lived in a house like that. It just never happened, or it did. Like, who really
Mhm.
knows? But it's
Maybe,
it's a freaking
maybe
weird
different
world that we
dimensions.
live in, right?
There are other dimensions, and we open portals and holes to them by
Yeah.
accident sometimes.
Yeah, no, I fully believe that. Like, I there's a really interesting guy that you may have heard of before. His name's Eric Weinstein. He's a mathematician, really smart. He's been on Joe Rogan a bunch of times. And he says that essentially we've been chasing string theory for the past 30 years. And string theory is essentially bullshit. You can't prove or disprove it just based on what it is. And that he thinks that they've been doing this so we don't go down other routes to figure out some of these portals or faster than light communications or travel or anything like that. And they want to keep it siloed and, keep DARPA or whoever, the breakaway civilization, like they want to keep that locked down. So we may not even be like going down the proper scientific channels to find these things, which is very, very sinister if you think about it that way. Like, imagine if we could just leave, this friggin' evil government who wants nothing to do with freedom or prosperity. All they really want is control, and they want to murder innocent people. If we could just leave, their power over us would just diminish immediately. And I think that's why they don't want us to leave.
Definitely, you can't be a ruler if you have nobody to rule over.
Exactly.
And
If we could just
that
open a
makes you the king
portal
of nothing.
in my studio and then gone, they have no power over us.
But here's one of the things that they've already said, and said one of the things why I figure they will not ever tell us. And with some alien species, are going to be beyond their control to tell us. And the worst thing is that somebody comes from another planet and talks to you and I. That's how you got the men in black.
Yeah.
Because in their minds, if you talk to a head of another state, it should be that head of that state talking to that state. You and I don't go and say, I'm going to talk to uh, Parliament in England. to talk to the officials in England and stuff. There's no, we don't want you just going there. I'm going to sit down and talk with Putin for a while. And no,
Yeah.
other heads of states, if you happen to, except they want to know what you said, why did you do it? This whole thing is up. Other heads of states should talk to other heads of states.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes from another planet, they're just like an ambassador from another planet. And it's even though they try to make you look crazy through disinformation, you're going to get a visit from the men in black. What exactly was said? What do they look like and stuff? You said there was no such thing as aliens and stuff. We didn't ask you that. You need to cooperate. What exactly? And they want all that information, what was said. And you can see it in Close Encounter of the Third Kind. The people, the ordinary people they called there, they're trying to stop them. The military said, we're going.
Yeah.
Well, they did everything they do to try to stop the ordinary people.
Yep.
Because we don't want that. We're not going to get any information. Because definitely what we want is the technology. And that's what they said in this. And then disinformation, because they said one of the things they said, we're not really sure about that because one of the people online was Richard Doty, who was known as CIA.
I know who he is.
Known to throw disinformation.
The worst
so
guy.
He was one of the people online like that and stuff. So we'll convolute it. Their whole thing is we'll convolute it with a lot of lies so you look crazy. And then you don't believe what you even saw and stuff, or you don't believe the truth. Because somebody started telling the truth before they died. They said, somebody's like, I can't keep this quiet. I've been to another fucking planet.
Yeah, I couldn't keep that quiet.
Somebody.
Like, there's no way I could keep that. You'd have to shoot me.
Right.
Like, there's no other option.
This is the open days of the internet and stuff.
Yeah.
You had chat rooms. So somebody was in there. I've been to another planet.
Yeah. I can't keep my mouth shut at Christmas dinner. Like, there's no way I would be able to keep my mouth shut on something like that.
You imagine coming back to Earth and people are talking, they're talking to you. Hey, well, I've just been to Switzerland. I was skiing there. And like, I've been light years away.
Want to see a double sunset?
Right. Like,
so
what? You haven't been anywhere. You know?
One of the things that creeps me out the most about like our government and getting that type of tech is like, what if they come back from Serpo and go, hey, it was really great, except these people don't know what democracy is. Maybe we should go and teach them.
Exactly.
We've been spreading democracy throughout the Middle East for the past, 40 years now. These are people who want nothing to do with democracy. They don't think like us. Like, they're never going to really just go for that in the near term. And then we would expect aliens who just aren't even the same as us in any way to, like, that would terrify me. So I really hope that, like, there are alien civilizations out there that are big enough and powerful enough to keep us from doing that.
And from what I read, it was like they had this technology to jump through wormholes, do stuff, medical technology you've never seen, genetic technology. They said they were living pretty simple in Adobe house. Like
I remember that.
House.
They were kind of techno-primitive.
Right, and stuff. And they only had 2 kids and stuff. And, everything, they always had food. Everything was kind of free and stuff like that.
Commies.
Our government would never go for that.
Yeah. And you know what? That always was kind of a red flag to me, just because, like, so one of the main arguments for there's no aliens out there is we don't see anything. Like, we're not seeing large sections of our galaxy being blacked out by Dyson swarms or anything like that. If you had wormholes, maybe you wouldn't need to do that. So that could be a deal. But it almost seemed like a hand wave to make sure that there's no big alien civilization out there that we can, like, if there was like just, a multi-planet species out there that was in our realm, it'd be pretty easy to see, I would imagine. But then again, like, our fucking telescopes could be video games for all I know. Like, I'm not convinced that James Webb is a real telescope. They could have just put a video game out there, and who really knows, right? But yeah, I was always kind of bothered by that techno-primitism, like, communist deal. Like, that did bother me a bit.
We would, and the thing is, we know that our government, certain people want to hang on to power as well.
Mm-hmm.
The minute we see somebody come from another planet, their technology, and they talk to us, they know more than us. And they say, wait, we have a government to listen to. They know more. they should take over.
Yeah. Oh
We're gonna start
God.
looking towards them
Yep.
and not listening
Yep.
to you.
Have
And
you
that's a biggest
read
fear.
or watched The Three Body Problem?
No.
Oh, you got to check that one out. It's I don't remember the guy's name. He's a Chinese author, but really took alien invasions to another level. Like they're so terrifying, the aliens in that book and the
Mhm.
shows. There's a 31 episode season 1 Chinese version, and then there's like a 12 episode season 1 American version. It's wild that like China can produce a 30 episode series for cheaper than we can do a 10 or 12. It's so pathetic. But no, like, dude, that just believe me, the aliens are terrifying in that book.
I'd imagine it's, what is somebody said that whenever in history somebody has showed up with superior technology, it didn't go well for the indigenous people.
Nope, never did.
Somebody came from another land with some better technology, did not go well for the
Nope.
indigenous people. So
And you know what? On that
they can
note,
be.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but a lot of times the indigenous people did not recognize the ships right in front of their face.
Yeah.
And look at what we're doing right now. A lot of the time, people are looking at this shit every day, and it's like it doesn't exist.
I think, and that's one of the worries too. We have these big religious leaders when they come and stuff. For years, you've been saying God made us in their image, and our who are they? Who are
Yeah.
they? And it's like, and what religion do they practice? What are they thinking? That would be a scary thing for a more superior race. Their religious practices or anything, or lack of religious practice.
That's even scarier to some, I would
So,
say. Like if you
right,
don't have any and never have, yeesh,
we're
that's
not
that's
listening.
kind of scary.
We would more than less we would stop listening to them too. So you lose religious power, you lose power in general across the board. Um, and if they start giving us things, oh, you have a problem with cancer? Here, take this pill. They start giving us stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that took 20 years off me. Cancer, I feel great. You start doing things like that, we're never going to listen to our government ever again.
Yeah.
They got all the answers. Why should listen to you?
Mm.
You know, and that's one of the things he's saying. Yeah, give us the technology, make us you. That's what every time they encounter some aliens, make us you. Give us the technology. No, they're not ready for you. Give us the technology. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll get them ready for you. We'll get them ready. And I said, some of those drones, I'm like, maybe something's coming here they can't hide anymore, like in
That's
Independence Day.
that was kind of my thought too, is like when we first covered it, my thought was the thought experiment. If I'm a captain on an alien ship and I'm on my way to
Mm-hmm.
an empty planet that we scouted thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, and now we're only seeing people here once we get close, like you would have to if we were in that position, if humanity, let's say like in the three body problem, their planet's fucked up and they have to leave. So let's say we're in that same position millions and millions of years from now, and we leave and we set out on a 30,000 year journey. And halfway through that journey, some captain wakes up and looks at the pictures and goes, oh shit, there's people there. What are we going to do? We don't know where else to go. I think we'd still go. I think we'd displace those people so frickin' quick. It'd make their
Sounds
heads
like
spin.
Battlestar Galactica.
Exactly.
That's it,
Exactly.
that's
Right.
it.
Last question. Do you think we're ever going to learn the truth in our lifetimes?
You know what? Unless it's like Independence Day, they show up and we just can't deny it anymore. And whoever is in charge of any country, it's like we can't deny it anymore. There are
Yeah.
beings from other planets. They made contact with us. we've had contact with it, then it'll come out for years and stuff. So in contact, because then you won't be able to confuse it with disinformation and do things, and cloud the issues because they'll be here. And let's see, hopefully they're not here for any other things, but we'll see. I don't know in our lifetime. I think it's getting close. I think they give us these little morsels. They give us saying, "Oh, we just had these meetings and stuff about UFOs and stuff in Congress and stuff," and they give us nothing but grainy pictures and stuff,
Yeah, it's
all that
so
stuff, and
stupid.
say nothing all day long.
Yeah,
You know,
and literally repeat the same things that they said in
yes,
the previous like that was
right. They're
such
not giving
a
us,
letdown. Aliens was my favorite conspiracy until the government got involved. And then it was like, oh,
yes,
you guys wrecked it. It was so much fun before you guys got involved, right? I hope we learn something. Something tells me that, we're so small. Our lives are so short. And, we're just forgotten almost immediately. And unless you're one of the few who's willing to leave something behind that lasts longer than them. And, if these things have been around for millions and millions of years, they don't care
Mhm.
about a couple generations.
When I was a kid, I used to love NASA. Now that I'm an adult, I was like, I see people wearing t-shirts F NASA.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Yes.
have more information
They're
than
the
anybody.
worst. Yep. I'm
They
right there with them.
they when they are on, they've been many times to Mars, and so they're on Mars, and they kept asking about the face. They kept talking about the pyramid and stuff. Oh, those are anomalies and stuff. And they said, "Well, you're here, just go over there and prove it wrong. We're not going over that way. Prove it wrong. Just go over there and show it. This is a mountain range. Show it to us. Get close to it and show it to us. Show us the face and show it to us." And we know they erase things from pictures. They said we do. Oh, we did. And so Mars don't look red like they said
No. That's
it
I, how do you lie like that? It's like we were never going to find out or something. You just decided to put it shows how little they respect us, right?
yes.
Just
Mm-hmm.
piss on our backs and call it rain.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, it's disgusting. I think that for the most part, NASA is a freaking jobs program. I don't think they're really
Yes.
doing all that much. I don't know that they're launching anything at this point. Like these people are just look at what Elon Musk has been able to accomplish in a couple years compared to what they've done since the 60s. It's nothing. It's not even like they're not even close to what he's doing. The,
And probably the fear is civilians are in this. Will they keep the secrets? you know,
yeah, I don't know. Like, would you want
or will
Elon
they just
Musk to
sell it to
know about it?
anybody that
Like,
wants it?
Elon Musk gets pretty loose on Twitter. I don't know that you'd want him to know about what's going on, but at the same time, like, the dude has eyes literally everywhere. So how could he
Mhm.
not know something?
And then there are people willing to go into space and pay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
Because when you start letting individuals do it and stuff, and billionaires, they're like, "You're gonna put a price on it." Yeah, you, Joe Smo, you want to go?
yeah. Yeah.
I'll do it.
I would
And they
too, man.
go.
I'd love to go into space when I'm a little bit older and
Hmm.
maybe there's been a couple test runs. I wouldn't want to be on the first flight, that's for dang sure. But I'd love to go do a lap around the moon or something like that. Shit, that
Hmm.
sign me right up. Go
Hmm.
check out Mars. Man, I hope we can go and get some boots on the ground on Mars within our lifetime. What's up with that nuclear residue? Like there's all these weird stories about a possible massive nuke that went off on Mars somewhere. Even if it was a natural process, let's find out what happened. Like
Hmm.
there's so many things that let's go drill a hole in Europa and see if we can find any microbes down there. I'd love to go find some microbes on one of these planets, see if they're related to us. If
Fly me
they're
over
related
that
to us, cool.
Egyptian,
If
look
they're
like that
not, even
Egyptian
cooler.
face,
Yeah.
that Egyptian face there. Fly me over
Yeah.
that Egyptian face. I want to see
Yeah.
that. Is that a pyramid?
Yes.
Because that means not only one time that they live here, they live there too.
Yes, and go put some real people down there, not NASA astronauts or fucking government stooges. I want you to go down there and write a book about the space on Mars, and you know what I mean, and have this massive documentary. I would love that. That would be the coolest freaking thing. But it's going to be a while. I do believe it's going to be a while. You know, Elon's moving pretty freaking quick, but it's still going to take some time. They're going to have to figure out nuclear reactors a bit better before they can kind of, you know, bank on just landing there and having everything go good.
And he might have decided to become the government.
Yeah, you know, if he occupies Mars, then he's the government, right?
I'm talking about here. So
Oh yeah, I mean at this point,
look away from his individual endeavors.
Oh, the entire like Congress is flipping out right now because he was able to get a bill killed with a couple tweets. Like, yeah, maybe he is the government. That's a good call. Well, shit, Ronnie.
I love the song by The Call, and it always says that when the walls came down, the song called "When the Walls Came Down" said, "There ain't no Russians, there ain't no Yanks, just corporate criminals playing with tanks."
I think that's a good way to get out of here. Ron, it's been a pleasure talking with you again. I always love talking with you. Have a good night, everybody.